Dobrý den a vítejte u 15. lekce. Hello and welcome to lesson 15. Today we're looking at gender of Czech nouns. Okay, this is really important to be able to recognize the gender of Czech nouns, because when you want to describe a noun using an adjective, the form of the adjective changes depending on the gender of the noun. So we need to recognize the form of the noun so we can have the appropriate noun adjective. Okay, good. I'm going to make it really easy today and say there are 3 genders in Czech. Technically there's really 4, but 3 today. Masculine, feminine, neuter. I say 4 technically because masculine can be divided into 2, animate and inanimate. But for today we're just going to consider it as masculine, feminine and neuter. Good. Okay, so masculine nouns typically end in a consonant. Nearly always end in a consonant. An example of this would be the Czech word for boy is kluk. 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 This ends with a K. It's a consonant, so it's a masculine noun. It's an obvious one because you think of a boy and you realize a boy is masculine. It's easy. Sometimes it's less obvious. So, for example, the Czech word for suitcase is kufer. Kufer. This ends with an R. So obviously a consonant. So it is masculine. The Czech word for castle is hrad. 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 You'll probably hear about Prague Castle, Pražské hrad, when you're here. Hrad ends with a D, it's a consonant, so it's a masculine noun. Okay. Moving on to feminine. Typically, feminine nouns end with an A. Sometimes they end with an E or E, and sometimes they end with ost. I'll give you some examples. The Czech word for girl is holka. 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 The Czech word for restaurant is very difficult. The Czech word for restaurant is restaurace. 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 This ends with an E or E in Czech. E. So this is feminine. And finally, I said that feminine nouns sometimes end with ost. An example of this is radost. Radost, which means happiness. Happiness. Radost. Incidentally, radost is also the name of vegetarian restaurant, bar, and also disco in Prague, which is quite well known, quite popular. Radost. Finally, moving on to neuter. We've got 2 possible endings here. Probably the most common is, definitely the most common is O. If you remember the Czech word for beer, which probably you do by now, it's pivo. Pivo. Ends with O, so we know it's neuter. The Czech word for car is auto. 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 So again, this is neuter. And neuter can also end in Czech E, so it's I, English I, E. Example of this would be the Czech word for station, train station, which would be nádraží. 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 Or square, as in town square, would be náměstí. 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 Okay, so what do I want you to remember from this lesson? Masculine nouns end in consonant. Feminine nouns end either in an A, in an E, so English E, Czech E, or ost. And neuter ends in an O or in an E, so that's English I, Czech E, Czech E. Okay. That's the most important thing. I'll just show you a little bit how this works now with adjectives. So if we use the adjective we already know, which is good. You know the adjective good, which is dobrý. So if I wanted to say good boy, you remember the word for boy was kluk. Kluk. So good boy is dobrý kluk. Dobrý kluk. No problem. If I want to say good girl, girl is holka, it's feminine. So instead of dobrý, can't say that, I have to say dobrá holka, dobrá holka. So good, the ending of good changes to an A when it's describing a feminine noun, dobrá holka. And then with neuter, so if I wanted to say good beer, beer is pivo, so I say dobré pivo, dobré pivo. Okay, so just trying to make you aware here. Once we start to learn some adjectives, those adjectives, the endings change when we're describing a different gender of noun. Okay, that's it for today. I don't want to get too much into the grammar, so hope that's helpful. If you liked it, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Děkuju, nashledanou.